You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Hey everybody, Dave here. Have you ever wondered where your personal information is lurking online? Like many of you, I was concerned about my data being sold by data brokers. So I decided to try Delete Me. I have to say, Delete Me is a game changer. Within days of signing up, they started removing my personal information from hundreds of data brokers. I finally have peace of mind knowing my data privacy is protected. Delete Me's team does all the work for you with detailed reports, so you know exactly what's been done. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and enter code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.
Today is January 21st, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazes, and this is T-Minus.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS T-Dress. Go for deploy. Roger roll.
Redwire has signed a definitive agreement to acquire UAS provider Edge Autonomy.
4.
Axiom Space and the Turkish Space Agency have signed an agreement to explore and identify potential supply chain opportunities for the Turkish space industry ecosystem.
3.
China launches its first commercial rocket of 2025.
2.
Taikonauts on the Tiangong Space Station conducted the world's first in-orbit demonstration of artificial photosynthesis technology, producing oxygen as well as the ingredients necessary for rocket fuel.
1.
U.S. President Trump takes office, vowing to pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, and aims to plant a U.S. flag on Mars. And today's guest is Daniel Fox, founder of The Future of Space. Daniel has just returned from the Space to Sea Antarctica adventure, along with space legends such as former NASA astronauts Charlie Duke and Jose Hernandez, as well as astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson and many, many more, and will be sharing what the experience was like with us later in the show. Happy Tuesday, everybody, and unless you've been living under a rock for the last few months, you'll know that yesterday marked the first day in office for the new U.S. administration. Donald Trump has resumed his previously held role as President of the United States and ushered in a new era of U.S. leadership, with space front and center of his planned objectives.
The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Yes, the 47th president of the U.S., who has a very close relationship with SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, is looking to Mars. Trump said Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Musk was in attendance at the inauguration and cheered along with the crowd when Trump spoke of his ambition. Unsurprisingly, Trump's speech bolstered space stocks, which were climbing earlier today. Intuitive Machines, Rocket Lab, AST Space Mobile, and Redwire were all trading up following yesterday's inauguration, in a sign that space may once again be on the up under the new administration. Taikonauts on the Tiangong Space Station have conducted the world's first in-orbit demonstration of artificial photosynthesis technology. The aim of the research was to produce oxygen, as well as the ingredients necessary for rocket fuel. China Manned Space says the Taikonauts used semiconductor catalysts to convert carbon dioxide and water into oxygen while producing ethylene, a hydrocarbon that can be used to make spacecraft propellants. The tests focused on technologies that would be essential for resource production and human survival in space. And speaking of China, Galactic Energy launched its Ceres 1 rocket on Monday, marking the first commercial rocket launch in China for 2025. The Beijing-based rocket maker's mission, On Your Shoulders, delivered 5 satellites into orbit. 4 of those satellites were Yunyao-1 satellites, which are all equipped with Global Navigation Satellite System occultation detection payloads, which means they acquire data on atmospheric temperature, humidity, pressure, and ionospheric electron density, all of which may be blocking or occulting GNSS signals. The other satellite is the JTX-A05, which is equipped with a hyperspectral camera payload to acquire remote sensing images. Moving on now to Turkey, and Axiom Space and the Turkish Space Agency have signed an agreement to explore and identify potential supply chain opportunities for the Turkish space industry ecosystem in the development of the planned Axiom Station and other Axiom Space activities. The two parties signed a memorandum of understanding covering mutual cooperation in fields such as space technology, aerospace, textiles, materials science, advanced manufacturing, communications, and life sciences. The partnership aims to engage Turkey's younger population in space activities, inspire future astronauts, engineers, scientists, and leaders, and support the sustainability of the space industry while fostering innovation in other sectors. And Redwire has signed a definitive agreement to acquire Edge Autonomy, which is a provider of uncrewed airborne system technology, in case you were wondering what UAS stands for. Redwire will acquire the UAS company for $925 million on a debt-free, cash-free basis. The merger consideration is expected to be paid using $150 million in cash and $775 million in shares of Redwire common stock. Following the merger, Edge Autonomy and its subsidiaries would be wholly owned subsidiaries of Redwire. Redwire says the acquisition will make the company a global leader in multi-domain autonomous technology, broadening its portfolio of mission-critical space platforms to include combat-proven autonomous airborne platforms. And that concludes today's Intel briefing. Head to the selected reading section of our show notes for links to further reading on all the stories mentioned throughout the show. And today we've included 2 extra stories for you. One's on General Atomics' test on nuclear thermal propulsion, and another is on the Canadian Space Agency's support of quantum key distribution technology. You know, we are just under a week away from Commercial Space Week in Florida. And by the way, we here at T-Minus will be recording at booth 1217 from January 28th through 30th. So come by, meet the team, say hi, let us know how we can improve the show for you, or book a time to speak with me. Yes, I will interview you by emailing us at space@n2k.com to arrange the time. Hey T-Minus crew, if you are just joining us, be sure to follow T-Minus Space Daily in your favorite podcast app. And if you could do us a favor and share the intel with your friends and coworkers, we would really appreciate it. Maybe by Friday, show 3 friends or coworkers this podcast, because a growing audience is the most important thing for us, and we would love your help as part of the T-Minus crew. So if you find our show useful, and of course, we always hope that you do, please share it so other professionals like you can find it. Thanks so much for your support, everybody. It means a lot to me and all of us here at T-Minus.
Cyber threats are evolving every second, and staying ahead is more than just a challenge, it's a necessity. That's why we're thrilled to partner with ThreatLocker, the cybersecurity solution trusted by businesses worldwide. ThreatLocker is a full suite of solutions designed to give you total control, stopping unauthorized applications, securing sensitive data, and ensuring your organization runs smoothly and securely. Visit threatlocker.com today to see how a default deny approach can keep your company safe and compliant.
Our guest today is Daniel Fox, founder of The Future of Space.
For 15 years, I did solo wilderness expedition under the banner of Feel the Wild, which was kind of a narrative of our own journey with nature as this place of teachings and lessons. Not necessarily about nature, but more about us using nature as a teacher. And after the combination of my book, Feel the Wild, that published in 2019, and COVID, I was given the opportunity to kind of reassess how to move forward. And this is where I acquainted myself with space. As an explorer, I always understand what the value of these new places. And as someone who was maybe not necessarily a space geek, and never thought that space was feasible, I really did a pivot and created a company called Future Space with the intent of continuing that storytelling and understanding the power of these places and trying to reshape the narrative of how these new frontiers matter and how they're part of the equation. In the world of being so divided, I think that there's a value in reconnecting ourselves with our capacity to figure things out. So
Absolutely.
Space to See is really this platform where we tell stories. We get to experience them and we get to bring people together. And now we just did our inaugural Space to Sea voyage of legends that was in Antarctica.
Yes, and you are fresh back from that. My goodness, Space to Sea, this incredible voyage that you went on. I'm going to read the highlight of the guest for our listeners and viewers. William Shatner, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Moonwalker Charlie Duke, Ann Curry, NASA astronauts Scott Kelly, Jose Hernandez, Celine Cousteau, and also someone I'm a huge fan of also is the artist Stephen Wiltshire. I love his work, so I just was so pleased to see that he was part of that as well. But I'm sure that is just the tip of the iceberg. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for the incredible conversations that must have been just happening everywhere on that voyage. My goodness, where do you even start describing what that was like?
It was, I think, really something magical that happened, but I think it is a testament to the type of experiences that we want to create, and where here we are on a ship. You have 240 different individuals from different backgrounds, different economic realities. We had, a billionaire, we had teachers, we had young, old, and yet in the end, the biggest takeaway from all of this, right? Antarctica was impactful as the background. People got to be reminded of these remote places. But one of the biggest takeaways was the sense of community, right? These relationships that were created on board, that sense of connection, right? This is really the biggest takeaway and why it matters. And I think it's an important reminder, and that in times where so much of everything is divided because we brand our opinions, high and loud, and it's the first thing that we share with the world. But the reality is that when we come together, this is where the magic happens. And to have Celine on the stage with between Neil deGrasse and Scott, and having her presence and her energy really balancing and being delivered with so much elegance. It was incredible what Anne brought to the conversation with Stephen, right? An artist that is kind of subtle, easy to miss, and yet the power that he brings to the conversation. It was, there were so many moments. Even from our ugly sweater contest, but it was just a reminder of what we can achieve and what we can do. Antarctica, these remote places need to be experienced, and they need to be done in a way that we understand why they matter. And I know that there's a a conversation that is happening about, well, we should leave these places alone. We should never go to Antarctica. We should never go to the moon. Why go to space where we've already done so much damage? The reality
Certainly,
is
yeah.
that
Yeah.
these new places are always part of the equation. We need to experience them. They give you a sense of perspective. They give you a sense of how everything is interconnected. And for us to be able to create a platform where people were able to experience that was just priceless.
I can just begin to imagine. I'm imagining all those different people coming on board for, quite some time during the holidays, no less. I imagine there must have been a lot of preconceived notions, a lot of hopes and dreams that people had, and a lot of changed minds by the end of it. People may be coming away with conclusions they didn't expect that they would be having. Really, a lot of unexpected experiences. I'm wondering if you have any examples, or obviously you don't have to name names for people's privacy, but
No,
yeah.
there's no. I mean, Anne Curie, said she was not interested of going back unless her children were coming along. Céline Cousteau, the same thing. She was not interested of going back to Antarctica, except if it was for her son to experience that. Right? The physicality of these places is not to be forgotten. We're physical species. We need to experience these things. There's a lot of people who, came away as like, listen, I didn't feel that I would be able to contribute or that I mattered because, I haven't done much. And yet I've never felt the sense of being excluded or that I didn't matter. I think it's, again, this constant reminder of what we can achieve and the power of traveling, right? Why do we travel? Because we go out and we're reminded of the things that we take for granted, back home. It makes you reappreciate, makes you fall in love again with the things that we forget. So the Drake Passage,
Yes,
we're able to experience these things now, where before you either had to be like a lone wolf or a crazy person, or because you didn't fit in society and you thought like, I'm just going to go and get stuck on the ship and I'll almost die in the process. Before, going to these remote places, you had to be a scientist or you had to be a hardcore adventure where, you would be on a research vessel for 2 months eating oatmeal for the entire time. Not really pleasant, right? Now we get to bring common, regular people who, felt that this was not available for them. And, our voyage was quite exclusive, but the reality is that you have different options if you want to go to these places. And, yes, we are connected to the internet, Starlink, all the way through, which is an added value, right? You can share. I've being on the bow deck with family members that are sharing that experience with their family back home is precious, right? So we have all these preconceived notions of these experiences and these voyagers until you go there and you get to experience it, and then you go, my God, great! I understand why it matters. I cannot fathom how remote and how crazy these voyages of Shackleton and Scott and Amundsen and when these experiences are curated and crafted in a way that information, context, and education is done, they become the most powerful and impactful experiences in your life.
I can totally believe it. And what also I'm hearing a lot from what you're telling me is, as much as these places are extraordinary, and goodness knows, I really hope I can visit Antarctica one day myself. That's definitely on my bucket list. It's actually a lot. It sounds like to me, you seeing what other people are getting out of these voyages and seeing their transformation is extremely rewarding for you. Given how much you have traveled this world, I would. It almost sounds like the place is secondary to the experience of the people that you're with. I hope I'm not misreading that, but it sounds a little bit like that.
It is. It's funny. I remember many years ago, I was having this radio interview after doing a lot of Alaska, and they were asking me, like, what's your favorite place? What's your favorite mountains. And I found myself answering in that moment and surprising myself. And I said that, mountains are mountains, wildlife are wildlife. And ultimately, they're the backdrop of something bigger that is happening, which is all these human connections, these human relationship. Like everywhere that I've been to, part of my creative process was to stay with local people, share a table, sit with them, share a glass of wine, and hear their stories. And those became the most cherished discoveries along the way. Right. And if I was connecting more with a mountain or with a bear, I would have to start asking myself a question, really, like, who am I? Because,
Right.
I'm human. And ultimately, it's the human connection that really enriches my life. The rest is basically accessories to define more what type of relationships you will have, right? Am I someone who creates those relationships more by going to the outdoors or by going to a movie theater? I mean, these things kind of are more the filter of what defines the group of people that you hang out with. Our voyage to Antarctica was that, right? It was people who understand or wanted to experience the power of these places. So now, obviously, you're on the ship with like-minded individuals, but the all the travel, right? The travel, great. We get to experience food from different places, but ultimately, it's the people along the way that really became that most cherished discovery.
I can totally believe that too. And I think that would be my takeaway as well. Is I think that's the scenery is always incredible, and the experience is also. But you always remember the people first and foremost, for good and bad, but hopefully for good. Uh, I can't help but wonder what your next adventures are going to be. I'm sure you've got a lot already planned.
So we do have Galapagos November. This is going to be something really different, much smaller, just because of the nature of the experience itself. It's a smaller ship. The Galapagos are extremely careful about how they manage. So you cannot be more than 100 voyages on a ship. There are a limited amount of ships. But we'll do something before and after. There's other programs and other experiences that we're going to be creating. Everything that we do. Right? Everything that we do is founded on these three kind of statements that for us define everything that we create. So embracing new frontiers, celebrating the human experience, and elevating the conversations. Everything that all these experiences, these events that we're going to be doing are going to stem from these three statements that for us kind of define really who we are as a species.
We'll be right back.
And now, a message from our sponsor, Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. Enterprises have spent billions of dollars on firewalls and VPNs, yet breaches continue to rise by an 18% year-over-year increase in ransomware attacks and a $75 million record payout in 2024. These traditional security tools expand your attack surface with public-facing IPs that are exploited by bad actors more easily than ever with AI tools. It's time to rethink your security. Zscaler Zero Trust plus AI stops attackers by hiding your attack surface, making apps and IPs invisible, eliminating lateral movement, connecting users only to specific apps, not the entire network, continuously verifying every request based on identity and context, simplifying security management with AI-powered automation, and detecting threats using AI to analyze over 500 billion daily transactions. Hackers can't attack what they can't see. Protect your organization with Zscaler Zero Trust and AI. Learn more at zscaler.com/security.
Welcome back. If you didn't know what those brilliant glittery streaks across the skies above the Caribbean were last Thursday, it's understandable if they freaked you out or if you went, ooh, shiny. Starship exploded during test flight number 7 last week, and when things go right during these test flights, Starship goes up, goes orbital, and comes back down to Earth, either burning up on re-entry or splashing down in a remote patch of the Indian Ocean. But we humans make plans, and the laws of thermodynamics laugh at them. And in this case, 9 minutes after liftoff, Starship came back down to Earth near the Caribbean island of Turks and Caicos instead, in a lot of itty-bitty pieces. Thankfully, no one was injured by the falling debris, but those pieces are littering the land and shores of the tropical beach paradise. In a story reported by Denise Chow of NBC News, tennis instructor Ray Garcia saw the debris rain down on the tennis court and golf course where he works in Turks and Caicos. He said, "I was actually very scared. I was thinking it was a meteorite. It kept exploding and exploding and exploding. It was strong. You could feel the explosion. It felt so close." It is very, very lucky indeed that no one was hurt. And I hate to add this qualifier, but we're very lucky that no one was hurt this time. It's safe to say most of us listening to this show understand the math. More satellites in LEO, more launches, the greater the likelihood of something dire happening. That is part of the reason why a growing group of advocates from the space industry and the space research community are urging the United Nations to add a safeguard for space, especially low Earth orbit, in the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Such a goal would primarily have the aim of preventing the dreaded Kessler effect, where LEO becomes unusable because of all the space debris orbiting us. But the problem of space debris collisions in LEO didn't seem too urgent until suddenly it was. And it seems we are nearing a similar point with space debris raining down on terra firma. Might be worth some space in that SDG, just a thought. That's it for T-Minus for January 21st, 2025, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K and podcasts like T-Minus are part of the daily routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. This episode was produced by Alice Caruth. Our associate producer is Liz Stokes. We are mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. And I am your host, Maria Varmazes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
T-Minus.
Your business needs AI solutions that are not only ambitious, but also practical and adaptable. That's where Domo's AI and data products platform comes in. With Domo, you can channel AI and data into innovative uses that deliver measurable impact. Secure AI agents connect, prepare, and automate your data workflows, helping you gain insights, receive alerts, and act with ease through guided apps tailored to your role. Data is hard. Domo is easy. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.